Hello.
I'm gonna get this out of the way now. God, you're a twat.
Yes, Jordan's had a bit of a bad day.
Well, it's mostly yesterday, to be fair.
Jor-
Today's not been too bad. Today was productive.
okay, Jordan had a bit of a bad yesterday, and like all relationships that have been going on at a certain point, he's going to take it out on his long-suffering partner.
Well, I was thinking, you know what? Next year, this is gonna annoy and scare and a little bit upset you. I should think. Next year we'll have known each other 20 years.
Fuck me.
I know. I
20
mean, you want me
years.
to, but I'm not going to.
Oh, we'll get there. Your resolve will weaken. I'm resigned to it at this point. You might as well. Let's just get it out of the way.
You'd have the night of your life.
Well,
You'd
maybe.
never be able to have as good a time ever again.
Well,
Look, I can only repeat what I've said previously. I've only ever had one complaint, and it was my first time. I didn't really know what I was doing beyond the basics.
well. I'm sure I'd have a bloody good seeing too.
Yes, I'm sure you would.
Yes.
Now, shall we get off? Well, not get off, but shall we avoid change topics to something a little less?
Yeah, quite right. I mean, we'll record it at the time and upload it, and it'll be our most viewed video ever.
I know, and we'll both wish it wasn't.
Yeah.
It'll be your career down the drain, my prospects of ever becoming anything important down the drain.
Yeah. You're
But
my
you never know.
you're my friend. That's pretty important. Ah, it fell off the thing. Help. Oop.
No, don't be a dumbass. Wet stairs. Um, have you got a topic you want to do?
Yeah, go
Or is
on.
there some sort of pleasantries that you want to go through first?
No, we might.
I know we did it, but sometimes you get arsy that we don't do this sort of thing on camera for the record, for the benefit of the tape, so
Jor-
that the people at home or on the commute or hanging themselves don't think that we don't like each other.
Jordan's had a shit day. I'm pretty good. Um, so
Cheers.
we might as well start with my new video.
Yeah, how's that going?
Really good.
Yeah,
I told you before that YouTube shows you where it compares it with other videos where they were at this point in their life.
yeah.
It's leading currently,
Oh wow.
and by a fair old margin as well.
Oh, that's good.
Well, I say a fair old margin, for me. At
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
present, because I'm only a tiny channel. At present, it's at 4.9k. Next highest is the Emmerdale plane crash video, which is at 3.3. So that's what?
What at this time in its
Yeah,
okay, cool.
3 days in. 3 days, 11 hours. So that's a 1.6 thousand um, majority. Uh,
Lovely.
yes, I've got a good amount of subscribers and like 80 odd comments. Um, I was surprised by how positive they were in general.
Well, I saw one.
Yeah, the one I showed you, I thought it was going to be like that, sort of all the way through.
You actually you showed me three.
Well, yeah, that's true, didn't I? And the other two were pretty positive.
Yeah,
Um, and
but they were the two I assumed you were showing me.
well, we should say that my video is about a trans character. So
Yeah,
naturally, I
very good point.
assumed, oh, okay, it might get pretty ugly, and there has been a bit of ugliness, but a few jokes and jibes and shit. But most people have been really positive. I've had two comments that said I made them cry.
I mean, listening to your voice does that to me as well. But
Oh, I knew he'd take it. I knew he'd bloody take it. Um, yeah, people have been very positive. It's done very well. It's always nice getting video out there. I'm gonna relax a good bit for the next few weeks, and then I'm gonna do some work on my own personal writing project. I've got 2 weeks off coming up, so I'm gonna do that and maybe begin some research for my next one, which I'm sure will not be nearly as successful. But hey ho.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, yeah. I think it's like my seventh video. So I
I
take
don't know. I've
fucking
lost count.
ages getting them out, but it's always remarked on. Somebody always comments and says, "Oh, I'm so glad you're back," as if I like decided to leave and then change my mind.
Yeah,
It's like
not like me.
no,
You know what? Obviously I was doing the Cashney stuff, and
yeah,
I've announced my retirement. I'm not going back to it before you say anything.
yeah,
But someone mentioned being the fact that I was fairly popular on
yeah,
Reddit, which I would say, based on the stats, it's fair to say that I was fairly popular.
yeah.
Um, one of the lads mentioned it, and I was like, yeah, but I'm not going back to that. And a separate lad said, for now, and they two separate conversations on two separate days. They alluded to the idea of me going back. So even I'm getting that sort of thing, really, just much smaller scale from people that I actually know.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck? Just no.
Well, I mean, it's different because I have no intention of leaving it. I just take fucking ages to get these things done because I've got other things going on in my life and they're time-consuming things at the best of times. I mean, when I started, I intended to get one out a month,
Yeah, you did, didn't you?
but that, I mean, that was never going to happen. Even if I was unemployed, I'd just be working constantly. And no, it's a slow thing, and I wish I had something good to put out in the meantime. I did consider pointing them in the direction of these videos.
Oh God,
I'm not sure.
dangerous.
I'm not sure how I feel about it, to be honest. It's not the sort of thing I want to rush into because I may well regret it. You can't really put the genie back in the bottle.
Well, I mean, if you do a video saying, "Oh, this is where we are," and then you get cold feet, just delete the video, and then at least no one new's going to get that info
Yeah,
from you.
I mean, it would. I think people probably would check it out. They might. One.
I have no. You want to do it, you do it. It's up to you,
Yeah.
right? It's your audience. You're directing them towards something you want. You do. You're welcome to do that. I'm not. I don't feel forced to.
Yeah, I just, I don't know. Part of me thinks of this as like a little oasis, you know.
Well, this is going to be the place where that gets us cancelled 50 years down the line
Probably.
because we dare to, I don't know, say whatever it is I'm going to say later in this video
Yes.
that you're not going to call me out for saying.
I don't think robots should vote.
Oh, I don't know about that, Ben. They already do.
Oh yeah. Oh, do they?
I don't fucking know. Probably. You know what people are like. Fucking stupid. And I
Yeah.
don't trust electronic voting any more than the next man. Since we're sort of on the topic of politics,
Uh, okay.
obviously there's been a lot of political stuff going on of late.
Yes.
Uh, have you got any in particular that you'd like to talk about, or can I get onto one of mine?
Well, there's some things I'm vaguely aware of, but to be honest, my politics at the minute, I've just been watching old BBC election coverage from the 70s.
Because that'll help you learn what's going on today.
I think Mr. Wilson's going to get in
What year?
1974.
I'm assuming he does, doesn't he?
Well, well, okay. There were two elections in January. One in January, which resulted in I don't think a minority government for the Tories, and
Mm.
then they called another one in October, which
And you know it's
Labour won.
you know that's bad because the Tories don't like minorities.
No, they don't.
That's going to get us cancelled, even though it's true. It's factually true.
I think you have to be someone to get cancelled.
Oh, no, what I mean is in the future.
Are you suggesting we're going to be people in the future?
Well, I know I'm a person. You mean important people?
Yeah. I'm important to me.
I'm not
You are
important to
important.
me. That is.
Oh, you are important to me. I.
Well, you have low standards. Who else have you got in your life to have important?
Well, I've got some work friends, and I've got my friend from uni, and I've got family.
Oh well.
It's not that I have low standards. It's just that I'm not great at making friends.
Forever in my favour that one.
Yeah, yeah.
Anywho, yeah. So we've had all sorts of politics stuff going on. Most recently, well, not most recently, but there's some stuff going on in Gaza
Is there?
again.
That's new.
Yeah, I know, right? Not for a while.
Yeah.
No, the latest thing was Trump decided to stick his oar in and said that if all the hostages weren't released this weekend, then um, all hell should break loose.
Yeah.
And Netanyahu naturally agreed with that prospect. Hamas were saying that they weren't going to release the hostages; they were going to release this weekend because of some sort of infringement on the agreement that Israel
Mm,
are doing. Um, Israel are saying, "Give us the hostages, or we're going to start killing everyone again." But they haven't specified whether they mean the three hostages that were going to be released or all 76 hostages that are being held still. So I suspect that what's going to happen is the three hostages are going to be released, and then all hell's going to break loose again because the other 73 are still being held.
yes.
I can see it coming. I'm hopeful that I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong, but
Yeah.
let's be honest. Netanyahu will have any excuse to start killing people again. He's like Combobulous Michael.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's Gaza. Ukraine's got a bit of news.
Yeah, there's some sort of Trump talked to Putin, I saw.
Yeah, Trump's been talking to Putin. Apparently, there's going to be a peace deal on the way, but obviously Ukraine weren't necessarily part of that conversation
No.
that happened. And everyone's like, "Well, Ukraine have got to be part of the conversation."
Yeah.
And America's like, "Oh, they're going to have to cede some land." And it's one of those things. So apparently, I think they said something along the lines of the pre 2014 borders are an unrealistic objective.
Mm,
And I would say, yes, it's probably an unrealistic objective, but you still try and get it, don't you?
well, yes.
You go into a negotiation with everything you want so that you can backtrack to the stuff that you desperately
Yeah,
need
you
or you
start
don't want.
high and you you give yourself room to back down and pull back and
Exactly. It's like I'm assuming you've probably heard the story about the making of Team America.
oh yeah, the censorship thing. Yeah.
Yes, they added the golden shower scene into it so they could take something out
Yes.
for the benefit of the. Oh, well, all right, we'll take this out, but you've got to leave the rest of
Yes.
it.
It's not uncommon, from what I've heard. Do you? I don't know whether I've
They should
told.
see our outtakes.
I don't know whether I've told this story before. Do you know how the producers of the Bond film Goldfinger got Pussy Galore past censors?
I feel like I have heard this story, but remind me.
The director took out the
Was
head
it
of.
tits are plenty or something?
No, it was, that's what I thought. I assumed okay, it must have been something worse, and they backtracked. But the director,
A lot of vagina.
yeah, the director took the head of the U.S. censor board out for lunch with his wife. Told him he was a big supporter of the Republican Party, and that if a little boy got that joke, he was quote a dirty little bitch.
Ah, yes,
And
yes.
it is kind of I mean, we're so desensitized to that now, but that's on ITV at like 3 in the afternoon.
Oh yeah,
My name is Pussy Galore. It's like fucking hell. To Mr. and
yeah.
Mrs. Galore, a daughter, Pussy. You know,
What would I mean? Pussy could just be a nickname. To be fair,
it almost certainly is.
you know.
It almost certainly is.
Like, I know someone who goes by the name Kitty.
Mm,
So let's be honest, it's not that far off.
yeah. You know, in the book, she's a lesbian.
Of course she is.
Well, she's a repressed lesbian
She likes pussy galore.
because Ian Fleming was like that. She's a repressed lesbian, but Bond, using his masculine charms, wins her over
Of
because
course he
he's
does.
just too irresistible. And in the movie, it gets a
Yes.
bit rapey.
Well, I mean, it's a James Bond film, so
Yeah.
you know.
I listened to a
Um,
podcast recently, which pointed.
there's also one other bit of
Oh,
politics I think I wanted to talk about. Let me just double check my notepad.
okay.
Look for things. Um,
Oh,
oh no, I've been disconnected from
yeah, that's
the
all right.
thing.
Can you hear me?
While you reset that.
I
Sorry.
don't.
Also, yeah, I can hear
Okay.
you. So also, no, there's loads more politics bits.
Oh
Jesus, I didn't
god.
realise. I assume you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you. Sorry, it was just taking a little while to load, and I just got a bit concerned.
Oh, okay. Netanyahu gifted Trump a golden pager.
Oh god, it's so fucking tacky.
Yeah.
But Trump loves
Well,
that
no,
sort of
but
shit.
you know why that's a deal, like a thing though, right?
No.
Because it was Israel were behind that those exploding pages.
Oh, that's disgusting.
Yeah, yeah. That's the only reason that would have happened.
How can anybody think Israel is the
Um,
good guy?
I don't fucking know. Have you heard about the Labour WhatsApp scandal?
No.
There was a bit of a scandal about a bunch of messages being sent on a WhatsApp, including one where a councillor, a Labour councillor, uh, was or who had become an MP, I believe.
Yeah.
When they were a councillor, they'd suggested that they wanted a an elderly constituent to die
Uh,
because they were a bother. I
uh,
think is what I recall reading. I may be inaccurate. I'm sure no one will be watching this to correct me anyway.
Turns out our
But
one
yeah,
viewer is that former Labour councillor.
well, and you know what? If they are, they're a scumbag and they deserve whatever
They deserve to die.
mistreatment.
No, no,
No, no, we're not gonna. That will get us cancelled.
no, they
Um,
don't. I don't know anything about this story. Nobody deserves to
but no,
die.
it's well, a few people.
Okay.
But no, yeah, that was it's a bit of a scandal. There was an apology from someone. A load of people have been kicked out of the party for it, and
Mm.
yeah, all in all, it's been a bit of a mess for Labour. But the key thing is they're acting on it. I
Yes.
would say it's come to light. They're dealing with it, or they're being seen to be dealing with it.
Mm.
Um, and that's more than we saw for some other parties in other recent circumstances.
Yes.
And
Not
that's all
naming
I'll say.
names.
Tories.
Well,
Reform.
we're
And what else?
the Whigs. Did you say the Whigs?
I didn't, but
And their infamous WhatsApp scandal of 1872.
but no. And then I've got the last bit of political situation that's going on that
Yeah.
I've seen. Um, have you heard about the latest Kemi Badenoch's a moron thing?
No.
No. Well, she made a point in PMQs. Apparently, some people think that maybe someone on her team is deliberately trying to make her look stupid.
Why would they
Because one
do
of them,
that?
what? Well, they don't need to make her look stupid. She fucking does it herself. But what she did was she criticised Labour for hiring a border person, like someone in charge of border regulation or whatever,
Yeah.
um, who lived and worked in Finland.
Right.
Like they'd been working from home in Finland
Yeah.
to do this job. That was the thing that she was kicking off about, which would absolutely be something to be complaining about, right?
Yeah.
I would say
That seems a legitimate criticism.
yes. Apart from the fact that they were hired in 2019 by the Tory party and had been working from home for 5 years, and Labour are bringing them into the UK to actually do their job here.
So she's inadvertently highlighted an issue uh, that the Tories were responsible for that Labour are fixing.
Absolutely, yes. Like,
Jeez.
how fucking daft are you got to be to fuck? I mean, what she's done
Yeah.
there, she's completely flipped around who's at fault there. Got the timeline wrong. It's like, I should probably think, but what's happened is she's been told, oh, someone was hired to deal with it, to do this job, and they've been working from home for 5 years, and she's like, oh yeah, Labour are responsible for everything now, everything that happened
Well, it,
over the last 15 years.
it's. I mean, it's worth noting that a lot of prep work goes into PMQs, right?
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
like
Well, supposedly, yeah.
an entire team is doing research and figuring this shit out and suggesting lines of attack and how that's just rank
Hence why,
stupidity.
hence why there's just rumours and suggestions that
Yeah.
someone's trying to make her look stupid. But again, they don't necessarily need to try it.
Well, I don't know what the motive would even be for that. Maybe it's just. I mean, the only thing I can think of that is that it would be something personal.
Well, yeah, it's possible. Robert Jenrick's doing it. Huh?
Mm.
He was the second placer, wasn't he?
Who?
Robert Jenrick, was he
Uh,
the other candidate for leadership?
I don't know.
I feel like it was him, but I don't know. It's one of those. It was a few months back now, and I stopped caring right after it happened.
You know, when I was a kid, I could name basic or the bulk of the main players in the Blair cabinet, and now I don't have a fucking clue.
Well, yeah, but you obviously if you wouldn't. Robert Jenrick's not in the cabinet,
I
so
know,
you
but
don't know him.
I'm just
He
saying
wouldn't be on your. He wouldn't be on your list still.
my knowledge of politics in general, modern politics, contemporary politics, is so lacking, quite
And they're not as
frankly.
big a personality as they were either.
Mm.
You know, and actually that's a good thing in many ways because the last thing we want is personalities in politics, like you know, various people that could be named, but
Jim
I'm not going to.
Callahan.
Well, I was thinking over in the states.
All right. Oh God, yeah.
It doesn't do well to have personalities. Speaking of over in the states, there is another slightly political but mostly stupid story.
Yeah.
Um, there have been, the Gulf of Mexico.
You mean the Gulf of America? Yeah.
No, 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 because I live over here in the UK, and over here we call it the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah.
But yes, that's a thing. Apparently, it's been renamed over in the United States by Apple and Google in line with official government documentation. That's their argument. They're saying what they do is they update as per official government documentation. If that's the official government line, then that's what they will represent. Which is, okay, I don't like it, but fair enough.
Mm.
You know. But apparently, one of a reporter got refused entry to some conference thing they were meant to be a part of because that particular outlet doesn't call it the Gulf of America; they call it the Gulf of Mexico still.
Mm.
And it's like it's factually accurate that it's the Gulf of America. Apparently, is what the woman was saying. The press secretary woman. It's
Yeah.
like it's not factually accurate that it's called the Gulf of America. It's any name is subtextual, contextual anyway, right? It's not factual; it's context.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she was so aggressive about everything that she says, and that's something that is a very right wing press thing, isn't it? It's to be aggressive instead of But do you remember when they were laughing and joking in American press conferences with the speaker, with the press secretary? Do you remember those days?
Yeah.
Yeah, they weren't that long ago. Even
I.
Biden was making fucking jokes when he was,
You know,
you know.
before we started doing this, I was having my dinner and I was watching a documentary. Believe it or not.
Oh, no, you weren't, were you?
I was. It was about Walter Cronkite, who was
Oh,
like
okay.
the preeminent U.S. journalist, in from the 40s to like the
Uh,
70s or something.
and that's the way it was.
It was yeah. It was about him and the JFK assassination.
I didn't realize he was a major player in that.
Well, he didn't do anything. He didn't. I mean, he blood is not on his hands. He announced it famously. It's like in every
5 minutes before it happened,
in a, in
and
every
that's the way it will be.
in every like JFK documentary or anything about that. That's always the clip they play of him announcing it and taking his glasses off, and his voice sort of breaks a little. Um, but they played some clips of Kennedy like making speeches and things like that, and even just as I said, I was watching the old UK election coverage, and I don't like the argument that things were better in the old days because that so often comes from the worst sorts of people. But you listen
Yeah,
to them talking, and they're letting each other finish, and they're making points, and the questions are respectful, and politicians are eloquent, and it's just like fucking hell. Everything's sound bites. Nobody's got attention spans anymore. You can't. It's just shit. It's just, the quality of politician, I think, has drastically fallen.
the 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 politics has come up in my conversations with my therapist
Mm,
uh, as a one of the things that we've discussed is the idea that I'm not really achieving anything with my.
mm.
Would you believe?
Well, all right. I mean, I don't agree with that personally, but
Well,
go on.
from an outside perspective, it's very easy to find reasons to disagree with a lot of things that anyone says,
Yeah,
right? But I don't necessarily feel like I'm achieving anything with my life.
yeah.
I am 30 years old. There's hopefully quite a lot of time left to go.
Uh,
Hopefully, 1.5 times as long as I've been around
well, we're almost
on top.
31.
Well, that'd be 75. I'm thinking is not an unreasonable goal.
I'd be happy with that.
Exactly, that's what I'm thinking. So if we're 30 now. 1.5 on top of it'd be 75. That's a reasonable goal to aim.
Yeah, I'd take that. Granddad was about
Um,
75, so yeah, I'd be all right with that.
yeah.
I think I could do longer, but we'll see.
So I've got I based on that logic, that puts us 40% of the way through our life.
Fucking hell.
And
Well, I would argue against that because your childhood years are hardly productive ones.
no,
You can take a lot of that out. You know.
yeah, well, I know, but in sheer numbers, it would be 40%.
All right, fair.
You know, and I feel like I should at least be on the path to having achieved something or be achieving something. And so politics has come up as a. I was like, because ideally, what I'd like to do is something that means that someone after I have died that isn't a family member
Yeah.
knows about me, knows
Yes.
about something I did. That's all. I don't. I don't have to be. I don't want to last as long as Shakespeare has.
Why?
It'd be nice, but
Why?
like just something that I do
You know, this is what I've
worth noting.
been thinking for years. This is why I'm writing what I'm writing. As
Yeah,
long as those books exist and are on somebody's shelf, I am still alive, in a sense. I
it's the
completely
Terry
understand.
Pratchett thing, isn't it? It's for a man isn't dead while his name is still spoken
Yes.
thing.
I want to leave a mark on the world, and I completely appreciate where you're coming from.
And realistically, the only mark I've really left on the world is all those jizz stains, and I've also got a child.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
Uh,
that. Hey, he
but
counts.
but blood relatives just seems like a bit of a cop out.
Yeah,
Anyone can do that.
any fucker. Yeah, yes.
Well, not any. The vast majority of people are capable of doing that. It's not an overly complicated or difficult thing for the vast majority of people.
Speak for
There are people who have
yourself.
difficulties with it, and they need to be recognised.
Yeah. My technique is excellent, according to Bernard.
Okay.
He thinks I'm great with my spray.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking about trying to,
No,
pass on your genetics.
no,
Or in the words of Philomena Kunk, piss in your genes.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
But yeah,
Speaking of topic, because
well, you sort of hadn't really finished. I guess that means you want to go into politics more, do more
I
political
don't
stuff.
know. I don't know if I've got the motivation for politics anymore. I used to, didn't I? I had a bit of a thing for it, but
Yeah.
it's such a depressing thing at the moment. I don't. I sort of need to get. I said to my therapist, I need to get my own shit together before I start trying to
Yeah.
fix anyone else's. But the
It's
trouble is, you know,
well, look, you can always wait until you're older and maybe even retired before you maybe look into getting into council politics.
well, the
I've
trouble is,
considered it.
I strongly object to. I think there should be more youth in politics. Now, I don't necessarily think 30 counts as youth. I think it does count as youth in terms of what the current standard. Um, you know,
Well,
I
you could do your bit and encourage it in when you're older and more experienced and ready for something like that. I've thought about. I mean, I'd have to run as an independent because that's the only way a left winger can really get in.
yeah,
I think.
I wouldn't get in as a Lib Dem around here, not unless
No.
there's some serious shaking.
Yeah, you'd have to run as an independent.
Maybe I could get Lib Dem backing to run as an independent,
Maybe.
Lib Dem aligned.
Yeah.
But realistically, we understand that on for paperwork purposes, it wouldn't really help
Mm,
to be associated with us
mm.
because we are scum apparently.
You're not.
Which is ridiculous because every time I see anyone say anything, every time Ed Davies says anything in fucking PMQs, everyone's like, "Oh, who is this guy? He's awesome. I really agree with everything he said. He's such a
I
wonderful person. He's so great." And no one wants him to be the prime minister. It's ridiculous.
I just
It's
think
his scandal. We don't have a WhatsApp scandal. I'm in the WhatsApp. We haven't got a scandal.
because there's like four of you.
Actually, there's far too many, and I wish they'd take me out. I keep getting added to them. What's Mark Pack said? Oh, that was yesterday. Okay. He keeps sharing news, and then there's a Rutland and South Links one.
Yeah.
Apparently, there's some action day on the 1st and 2nd of March, but I've muted it so I don't get the notifications for it because it was getting ridiculous. And B, at some point they'll email me and be like, "Oh, can we sort this paperwork out for you running for council?" I'll be like, "Yeah, sure, absolutely. What do you need?" And that's it. I don't need to do anything else at the moment. I haven't got the motivation or the drive to do anything else right now.
It was quite interesting watching the January 1974 election because obviously it predates the existence of the Liberal Democrats, but the Liberals There's lots of
Hmm.
talk of the Liberals doing very well. And that was back when Jeremy Thorpe was leader, who famously went on trial for conspiring to murder his gay lover. Um,
Oh well.
yeah, it was a huge thing. Um, yeah, and it
Oh, that
seems
was a nice little triple.
ding ding ding. Yeah, seems like it's a recurring thing for you guys in sort of modern, well, I say modern, within the last 50 or 60, 70 years that there are elections where we think, oh, God, the Liberals are going to surge forward and maybe even become kingmaker and hold the balance of power, and you increase there's a swing to you in certain places, but you never do that well.
No, it's depressing. I mean, we've done the best we've ever done
Mm,
as the Liberal Democrats, like this time round.
yeah.
Like this is our best result, and there's no reason why, at the moment at least, that won't remain the case. We're not causing any problems. We're not having any scandals. We're not responsible for the problems. We're not. We're here and we're doing our job and we're saying sensible shit in Parliament.
Well, your issue is that
Good for you guys.
you're seen as an alternative. Yeah, what I mean by that is I think the reason why you got so much last time is because people were disillusioned with both parties. Obviously, not
Yeah,
as
maybe.
much Labour as the Tories. That's why the Greens have 4 seats. I don't think they'll keep those 4 seats. Um, just because as time goes on, the situation will change and people will be less disillusioned with one party than the other. You may well do well next time. I don't know. That's a while off yet. I
Hopefully.
kind of hope you do, frankly. Um,
You never know. I might be on the ballot.
maybe. I wouldn't mind having an MP for a friend.
I'm I'm not going to be corruptible.
No, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think you would make a very good MP.
Well, thank you.
I would be happy with you as my MP because I think you do your best
That's all anyone can really ask, isn't it?
and you take it seriously.
You know what? One of the things I'd try and do if I was prime minister,
Well,
I would I would try and find some way of stopping all the bloody bollocks when it comes to all the schoolyard behaviour they have in the House of Commons.
yeah,
I would try and do something to try and curb that a bit,
yeah. I don't know how you.
if not completely. I don't know what the process would be, but I would try. I'd bloody try. Also, I'd introduce and I understand the name's a misnomer because technically the second part of it negates the first part.
Yeah,
Um, the volunteer compensation scheme,
yeah,
um, in where recently there's been a few examples of it actually, but it's something I came up with a couple of months ago, where if there is work that needs doing in a constituency or a council area or whatever, say potholes for example,
yeah.
have if you get volunteers that are capable of doing the job adequately, safely and adequately, uh, and they can do it cheaper than
Mm.
the council can or the whoever can, let them do it and then compensate them with like a tax cut.
Okay, I I I don't disagree with that. I think you sell it as
As a yeah,
social responsibility and all of us coming together, but that would definitely be attacked as this is a council job. The council should be doing it, and you're making regular people do it.
no, because you're not making anyone. The whole idea is that they are volunteering their time and their resources to do it, and then you are compensating them after the fact. But if they are doing part of a council's job, for example, there's no reason why they should be paying as much for council services.
Hmm.
Is the logic there? I think that seems a lot the obvious way of dealing with the like rewarding them or thanking them for it. So
I
like a percentage cut on your
yeah,
council tax or
I mean
whatever.
I like that idea.
It needs fine tuning.
I think
It needs fine.
I think maybe it would be there's probably all sorts of regulations and stuff that go
Oh well,
along
that's the thing because
with
what you
doing
do
well
is
like that.
you convince the right wingers that you're cutting all the red tape that stops people from getting on with their bloody jobs
Mm,
to push it through on that side of things because they hate red tape. All those people.
yeah.
Ah, can't someone can't sort out a pothole because they haven't got a second person to hold the ladder. Oh, what a piece of red tape bureaucracy that is. We
That's a
need to
pretty
sort that out.
pretty deep pothole if you need a
It's
fucking
a,
land.
have you seen them? You've not been driving around here, have you?
um, yeah, I do think it would be misinterpreted or presented as you basically telling people, well, if you don't like these potholes, fucking sort it yourself.
Well, no, absolutely. I can
I
understand
know
why
what
that
you're
would be.
saying, and I think in an ideal world that would work. I'm just saying the counter
Yeah,
argument.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's how it would
Well,
be presented.
one of the things we've had recently, and it literally a week after I came up with this idea, there was a news article about a bunch of people who fixed a swing at a park because the council were going to have to
Mm,
wait until April, I think it was, to get it done,
mm,
and they got it done for half the price that the council had been quoted for it.
uh,
Right, so
yeah.
this is a thing that already sort of exists, but there's no sort of reason to do it other than because you're pissed off with the council. Whereas if you give someone an incentive to do it,
Mm,
it's less about people being fed up with it, and it's more about people genuinely being helpful. You get companies involved potentially, you know.
mm.
You can build a bit of community spirit with it
You
as well,
could, yeah.
and that's something that is seriously do you know how many of my neighbours I've ever spoken to?
I know. I don't. Aside from the fact I accidentally walked into the wrong house, I don't really speak to my neighbours.
Yeah, I've spoken to one. I've spoken to everyone in this block, but
Yeah.
that's because you see them right when you walk in and out sometimes. And then someone who lives in one of the other flats. Sorry, no, two of the other flats because one of them had a parcel of mine at one point.
Mm,
Well, that's it. There's 30 flats here, and I've spoken to residents of seven of them.
mm,
29 if you exclude my flat.
yeah.
You know, it's not a very. Maybe it's the area I live in. But I didn't really talk to my neighbours at the old place either. Only one side,
Mm,
and occasionally like a morning if they were other neighbours getting out of the car. But that doesn't really count, does it?
no.
You could say morning to any random person on the street.
Yeah. Not that I
Just like
ever
you can
would.
walk down the street holding a pint of water.
You could.
You could. You wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
You want to walk down the street holding a glass of water, you could absolutely do that. You'd look like fucking weirdo.
Yeah. Someone
But yeah,
will
no,
probably punch you in the face.
like I say, volunteer compensation scheme, which is a work in progress as a title. It's more just to try and get the idea across easier.
Mm. I mean, you'd also be cutting into council budgets.
Well, the idea is that hopefully, and there's no way of knowing for sure without testing it, but hopefully the amount that they save in not having to do the work is higher than the amount that they would have to spend if they
Mm.
did the work.
You'd need to do your costings.
Well, it requires information that isn't necessarily available.
It could well end up feeding into itself. You know, the council are losing money because people are doing this volunteer compensation scheme, which means shit isn't getting done, which means people are having to do it themselves and getting compensated. Before you know it, the council has no money and all the libraries are shut.
No, because then you get volunteers to outrun the library.
Mm. You'd need time though to do stuff. I mean, I suppose you could get the old people to do it, but no,
Well, no, like I say, people volunteer their time, their services, their resources. That's the whole idea of it. If there's a thing where people want to need to get some gardening done in like a fucking
mm,
just get some people to do some gardening. Let them do
mm,
some gardening. Make a community garden of it.
mm,
Have a registration scheme so that you know who's doing what. So you don't just have random people saying, "Oh, well, I did that.
yeah,
Compensate me."
yeah,
You know, that's how you regulate it a little bit of red tape, but only for the sake of making sure there's no one cheating the system.
yeah,
Because that's another thing that right wingers hate, isn't it? It's people cheating the system. So
yeah.
that's how you get them on board with that as well. You know, you gotta play the game. You gotta know how to play the game.
Yeah, I mean, I do like it as an idea. I think it needs fine tuning, and you would there'd be a lot of criticisms that are pretty obvious methods of attack on that one. Pretty obvious sort of PR weaknesses to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like it. I like
See,
it
the real question is, why would someone want to attack stuff getting done and money getting saved?
because the council should be doing it.
Okay, but you know,
I know what you're saying, but
do you want the potholes fixed?
it's basically a confession that the local government is sort of failing.
Oh, hang on. So someone admitting that they're wrong and taking responsibility for their actions
no.
Someone coming in to fix things because there's been a mess for so bloody long.
I think there's a difference. The council is meant to be providing the service to the people, and
Yeah, yeah.
now you're saying that the people need to do it themselves.
Well, no, no. I'm just presenting an argument for how we can. It's a game of give and take, isn't it? Sometimes you have to accept a bit of fault to win people over.
Well,
Is all I'm getting at there. And again, it's not like it'd have been my fault. I've only just been voted in.
well, in that case, will you cut the council local government budget? If you're admitting that they
We
failed, are you going to be spending as much money as you currently are on local government? If they can't even fix potholes, and you have to get the community to do it, surely that money could be better spent elsewhere, like on guns and bazookas to blow up boats with foreigners on them.
well, that's something that we'll review as and when we are able to do so. But first, we need to clean this mess.
What mess? This mess.
Well, the litter picking.
All right. Well.
I don't know. And probably to have some sort of mandatory um, community service work completed by elected officials.
Hmm.
Just something in the
Well,
community that
you'd need.
physically benefits the community.
Well, I mean, the counter argument to that, and I agree with you. You'd need to tighten it to very strictly express what it is, because they'd end up doing fucking public speaking tours and getting paid for it and
No,
citing
no,
that.
completely unpaid, sort of helping out like a food bank or litter picking
Mm,
or something like that,
yeah.
something that is quantifiably helpful to the community and they don't get money for. Now, whether the doing that work gives them a better public image and leads to further work down the line or whatever, you can't clearly control that. There's not an awful lot you can do about that.
Mm.
It's such a limiting thing.
Well,
But I think these people need to actually give to the community and be seen to give to the community.
well, surely they are by being members of parliament.
Okay, but have you, let's be honest.
No, I completely agree with you. I think it's another good idea. Um,
Once a month or something, have them in their constituency doing some fucking work that actually fucking helps people.
mm,
Maybe more often, but once a month is a baseline thing.
the governors to serve, as Ted Heath said when he came to power in 1970.
You know, we vote them in to work for us,
Mm,
so they can fucking work.
mm,
Anywho, yeah, politics. Let's move on.
mm.
Got a topic?
Um, yes,
Do you
actually.
have many tonight,
No,
or you?
I had I have to say I was very busy at work because I've been off ill for a while, like almost 2 weeks. So I came, and because I was sick and not on annual leave, I hadn't set up like email forwarding or anything or let various people know. And my team leader didn't really have the time to do much of that. I mean, she did let them know, but I came back to so many emails and a massive backlog, and I still haven't fully cleared it.
Uh,
So I've been a bit busy.
well,
Right.
I have not until today.
Let's have a look. Oh, okay. About Peter Kay.
I've heard of him. Actually, we've got a bloke who works at work called Peter Kay, and it gives me a chuckle every time I see him on the timesheet
Uh,
stuff.
who do we
But
have? We've got. I think it's not Ringo Starr, but it's something like that. It's
Richard Starkey,
no, it's like an older musician name. I think.
Ronnie Wood.
No, God only knows. Um,
Oh, one of the Beach Boys.
I have no idea. Jordan, I couldn't tell you.
No,
Um,
no. The only reason I say that is because they did a song called "God Only Knows."
all right. Um,
Honestly, if only you knew more about music, you'd have laughed your tits off.
um, Peter Kay.
Yeah, I don't know what he's done.
Well, he was heckled recently. I say
Okay.
heckled. He wasn't heckled. He was
Oh, well,
doing.
don't tell me he was heckled then if he wasn't heckled.
it's
False news, fake news,
it's been described
misinformation.
been described as a couple of hecklers. It wasn't. He was doing his show and he came out and somebody went garlic bread. He
That's
was
not a
like,
heckle.
"Get that fucking knobhead out of here!" But more like garlic dead is what he said, and had him dragged out. And then a woman said, "We love you, Peter," and he was like, "Right, get her out too." security
Oh,
escorted her out. Apparently, a lot. Well, I say a lot, and a number of people got up and left at that point in sort of solidarity. But he called the woman Lisa Riley. Remember? Do you
oh.
know who Lisa Riley is?
It's a name that rings a bell, but I can't think
Well,
who.
she was most famous for playing one of the Dingles in Emmerdale, and later did the voice over for You've Been Framed.
Oh, okay.
She time was she was quite well, she was a larger lady. She's since lost a lot of weight. And the individual in question was took this as a slight against her size.
Okay.
Apparently, he said it was just because she looked like Lisa Riley, which is honestly probably fair enough and probably what he meant. Although that would be a very on brand, very old, outdated reference for him if he was referencing her weight and comparing her to Lisa Riley, because Lisa Riley, one, has not really been in the public eye for, what, 10 years, something like that. I think she was back in Emmerdale recently. Um, and as I say, she's also lost a lot of weight. He just struck me as a bit of a twat, Peter Kay, in that moment.
Well, from the sound of it, yeah, he's a bit. If you can't take someone, yeah, if you're gonna get someone kicked out for saying something so positive about you,
Mm,
then you probably don't deserve to have the people in there anyway.
mm,
Like anyone in there, it comes with it's part of the job, really, isn't it?
mm.
In fact, it's a part of a job that you want of anything. You want that rather than you want the old references to your old jokes.
Yeah, I
I don't
agree.
even know where garlic bread comes from, and I say it
It's probably Phoenix Nights. I think it's Phoenix Nights.
probably, but I've never
With,
really seen. I've seen like one or two clips from it
uh,
with Bounty Castle.
I do understand that that would get annoying. It's like Richard Wilson. I don't believe it,
Ah,
but
but they play
Victor
into that in
Meldrew.
Father Ted, don't
They
they?
do, yeah, yeah. He probably gets that all the bloody time still.
Do you reckon Ricky Gervais gets you having a laugh?
Maybe, yeah.
So I feel like that's what I would want to say to him if I was going to do something like that.
Uh,
Yeah,
I remember when Peter Kay was like, for a time, he was the biggest thing in this country, wasn't he?
yeah, but he lost a lot of weight, didn't he?
In
So
like the early 2000s. I like him. I got a CD of his Mum Wants a Bungalow tour. Um, I yeah, I like him. I think he's funny. Um, don't like him enough to see him, and I suspect he's probably not a particularly pleasant person.
oh, who is these days?
Me,
And not always.
I do.
Sometimes you're mean to me.
That's because
I'm sometimes mean to you as well. So
well, you did call
and after
me a twat, and we were less than 5 minutes in.
yes, no, it wasn't lesson. Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah. I mean, I was going to call you a cunt, but I decided against.
You are awfully mean to me, aren't you?
Look, we both knew what the context was.
You just wanted to take your anger out on your wife, and you
You're lucky I'm not got my wife beater on, and you're not here right now, bitch.
slap me about and oh,
Don't get excited, Jesus.
I'm,
Has it been a while since you've been slapped about, man? Is that what it is?
no, I'm quite happy not being slapped about.
Yeah, that's what you say, but I don't know if that's what your eyes are telling us. Anyway, um, there's a speaking of famous people
Yeah,
in a spot of bother.
yeah.
Gino Di Campo.
Oh yeah, Gino did inappropriate sexual remarks. Oh,
I got an interesting take on this actually from and the rest is entertainment.
I don't know anything about this aside from the fact he did something sexy or sexual, I should say.
He some of the things he said are if you don't get me a cornetto, I'll fuck your girlfriend.
Okay.
And to someone
What?
else.
Okay.
So go on.
Sorry, it's just what a what, what a weird thing to hear out of context.
Yeah, I mean, I heard that out of context. It was being read by the woman that does the rest is entertainment, and
Mariella
she
Hyde.
just, yeah, I'll take your word that that's her name.
Okay.
'Cause I don't know. Richard Osman's on it as well, isn't he? And
Yeah.
he's a big name for me, but they never say Richard Osman and I've already forgotten her name. I
Mariella
don't say
Hyde.
it on the thing, so like. Anyway, apparently that was one of the things that he said, and another thing was he was talking about how he'd like to bend someone over the kitchen counter and do them at the arse or something.
Yeah.
But one of the things that they said is that it's perfectly acceptable to have sexualized banter in your private life, and if that's something that he does in his private life, that's fair enough. But don't be doing it with people that are,
Not into it.
well, not don't be doing it to people that are below you in the industry, and in a vulnerable position, and all that kind of thing. But they did mention that there are times where it appears that they have sort of he's been encouraged to lean into that sort of cheeky chappy style behaviour.
Mm.
For example, the time when he cooked nude on Good Morning or whatever it was.
Good Morning Britain, I guess.
Yeah, that thing with that had Schofield and Willoughby on it.
If my grandmother had wheels, she would have been a bike.
Exactly. That's a. I do worry if this is potentially a scandal that has been in the making for quite some time, almost intentionally.
I don't know.
But no, I mean until recently at least he's been the nation's favourite Italian, hasn't he? So we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah,
There.
second to Mussolini.
Yeah, Benito, not his great granddaughter, that's apparently got a great pair of tits. I don't know.
I just know. I just remember her getting into a Twitter beef with Jim Carrey, because Jim Carrey referenced her grandfather or great grandfather's execution, lynching. He said, "This is what happens to fascists," and she called him a bastard.
Wow. In fairness,
Mussolini was a prick, and he had it coming.
yeah, and that's why he'd stopped coming after it started lynching him.
Mm.
That's a autoerotic asphyxiation joke.
Is it
It's intended to be.
right?
Although I suppose it's not really autoerotic if someone else is doing it for hanging.
No,
I suppose it's just erotic at that point.
was from where I was standing.
What, about 70 years late?
Yeah.
Well, I suppose really it'd be 50, wouldn't it? Because we
Mm.
were like mid 40s it happened. We were born in 94, so. Christ, that's scary.
I've finished a book. Um,
Good God.
it was I I think I mentioned the Old Bailey book I was reading, which was great, and I finished that, and I sort of wanted something light and easy, so I got a conspiracy theory book for Christmas from my sister. Um, it's I think it's part of a series, but this one is about uh
Bigfoot.
no this one is a
Littlefoot.
no this one
Cardboard box.
this
What?
one is about specific people. So
Pacific people.
specific people. So it's hang on, Bob Marley.
Nice.
Um, what? Who's that guy in Nirvana?
Kurt Cobain.
Kurt Cobain, the Queen,
Dave Grohl.
Princess Diana, Kennedy, Elvis. Marilyn Monroe. People like that.
Oh, I've got a Diana thing for when you finish.
Okay. Um, well, I mentioned this to a colleague, and actually a few colleagues were about, and they all said they believed that Diana was murdered,
Okay.
and she wasn't. But it was just I've never encountered people who genuinely believe she was murdered. I don't know whether they were taking the piss, because one of them is the work friend who's sort of our relationship is sort of like ours, the one I mentioned before. It's sort of
Oh yeah, yeah,
diff-
yeah. There's a lot of
difficult.
sexual tension there. You both want a bone, but you don't want to talk. I mean, one of you wants to bone the other one,
Yeah, just
but the
just
other
like
one is.
ours, exactly. Uh,
Okay, okay. That's fine. Yeah.
yeah. Um, Sorry, I've lost my train of thought now. I was thinking about
You're
us.
thinking about getting rammed, aren't you? That's the problem.
Well, no, cold winter's night. But
I'm
curl
not
up,
booking a hotel room.
curl
I'm
up
telling
under
you,
a blanket.
I'm not booking a hotel with you because you knowing you'll accidentally book for one room by mistake.
Oh well. Oh, I
Share
guess
a bed,
we'll just
and I'm
have to
sleeping on a
work with it, won't
fucking sofa.
we? Hands start a wandering. Those lonely nights, long lonely nights are born. Oh, anyway. Um, yeah, it
Fancy
was.
you be cracking one off to this later.
I am not.
Not now, later.
Oh, all right. No, no promises. Um,
Okay.
yes. So it was just weird hearing people sort of genuinely believe that.
Oh, you know what people are like. They're fools, aren't they?
The thing about people like, I mean, we mentioned this a long while ago and during the Left 4 Dead video. The thing about people like Marilyn Monroe and JFK and Diana is they're larger than life, and it's sort of people like that don't die in something as seedy as a car accident. You know, one lone gunman who wants attention is not the person who is responsible for the death of a titan of, you know, mid-century American politics.
No, realistically, it just doesn't feel right, does it?
It doesn't feel right, but people do die in car accidents. Anybody can die in a car accident. It's like the Mitchell.
Mm.
I mentioned that it reminded me of the Mitchell and Webb sketch, where they're doing
Mm.
the conspiracy thing and playing government officials planning the death of Diana, and it's like, oh well, obviously we can't let her grow old and lose her looks, because then the public will naturally just love her even more, because everybody loves an old woman. Um,
What we'll do is we'll get her driver ever so slightly drunk and harass her with some paparazzi.
yes, because as we all know, car crashes are always incredibly fatal.
Oh yeah,
Nobody ever survives a car crash.
true that.
Mm. I
So
think.
my Diana thing before I forget,
Okay.
because I will forget. I didn't write it. There are in the Cars universe.
Oh shit.
There are car representations of various real world people,
Including the
like
Queen, isn't it?
the Queen, Lewis Hamilton, those sorts of things.
Yeah.
Which means that theoretically there was a Princess Diana car who crashed herself,
Well, surely she'd be a Princess Diana car, a Dodi Al Fayed car, and
and
uh,
then
and
there was
a
a pilot.
and a bodyguard car on a truck bed driven by or on a truck bed of a drunk French truck.
Well, yeah, very possibly. Either way, point is, that movie's got a lot of explaining to do.
Yeah. I've heard there are also security checkpoints in the airport in that film, which
Yeah.
sort of implies the existence of a 9/11 within the Cars universe.
Well, yeah, because planes exist,
Hmm.
doesn't it? As a
It always makes me think things like that always make me think of the Minions thing.
Oh yeah,
The
yeah,
Minions canonically serve the most evil person on Earth, or the worst villain on Earth, and they just so happen to have been banished to Antarctica after the fall of Napoleon
yeah. They got stuck in a cave or something
until
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 just after World War Two.
until the 60s, which is very convenient because it is sort of a tacit admission that while the Minions didn't work for Hitler, they absolutely would have if they were about.
Yes, and you got to wonder, realistically, based on everything we know, why did they end up with Gru? I know there's a film about it, but like,
Yeah, I've
he's
seen it.
not, he's not that evil, really. He's not that bad a villain.
Well,
He's actually quite easy to make a good guy.
I saw that film over Christmas, and from what I remember, the minions start out with him.
That doesn't make any sense.
They're already there. I mean, it does sort of show them sort of popping up one day and finding him in like a flashback, but it's
Oh,
not
do you mean what film did you watch?
Minions: Rise of Gru.
No, that's the sequel.
All right,
Yeah, there's another one. There's a one before that, which is obviously what sequel means.
they
But yeah,
made two Minions movies.
well, I mean, if you count the Despicable Me movies as Minion movies, they've made six.
They've made six Minion movies.
I know, crazy, isn't it?
Oh my god.
People love those little yellow freak.
My old boss at a place I used to work, her office had like a little minion shrine.
God,
They had loads of pictures of minions all over the walls, and I just thought, fucking hell.
you want to be go for a piss in a toilet with minions all over the wall, would you?
I actually do think minions are quite cute.
Look, there's a difference between cute and should be all over.
They are ineffectual henchmen.
Oh yeah, maybe they've been weakened by Drew being so bloody soft.
Maybe.
Because he is soft.
Yeah.
Oh, this is going to take forever to sort these in. Fifth tier, fourth. Oh shit! I just went past it. Look, I'm getting the bloody thingy because it's pissing me. Where is it?
Ah,
What?
it went over me, that ladder thing.
The scaffold.
Yeah.
And that's over your head, didn't it?
Mm. Oop.
So yeah, it's yeah, and it is funny and absolutely right that they closed up that possible problem.
Yeah.
Because the last thing you want is to find out that the minions, Bob the minion, was at fucking Auschwitz.
Yeah.
You know, that's not good for anyone.
It's not a good
To
look.
no, it's really not. The minion in the striped pajamas, Jesus,
Yeah.
like you know.
Yeah.
Anywho, what else was I going to say? Yeah, no, Diana Cars.
Yeah.
Um,
Thing that sort of put me off it. When I read his sort of theory, one of the telltale signs is that he has an explanation for everything in this book.
yeah,
It's like,
people always fucking do, don't they?
yeah.
So
Well, they used a camera flash to distract the driver, and they got him drunk and drugged him as well. Um,
just to
and
be extra safe,
yeah,
to make sure that to be extra safe with this really dangerous thing we wanted him to do.
yeah, because she was pregnant with Dodi Al Fayed's baby, even though there was no evidence found of that. But the reason there's no evidence found of that is that they embalmed her too quickly.
Oh,
There's also things like the ambulance, right? So the ambulance for Diana, when it came, it stayed with her for like an hour and something before it went to the hospital. And that did strike me as weird when I first heard about it. But then I learned that the French procedure is different than the procedure in Britain and America. From what I remember, here the ambulance takes you directly to the hospital, but in on the continent they stabilize you in the ambulance before taking you to the hospital.
I mean, what they will do here is they will treat you before they put you in the ambulance. So yeah,
Hmm.
they do the same here. I remember when Dad had his heart attack, the ambulance came out and they were here for a good half hour before you know.
It's something like that. I know it is. Yeah,
It
that's
seems a perfectly reasonable thing to do because you might not necessarily need to actually take someone to hospital.
well, yeah. It's just a difference between countries and their procedures.
Yeah.
Um, but he mentions that and cites it as sort of evidence. It's like the JFK thing. My litmus test for a JFK conspiracy theory is whether they use whether they mention the magic bullet,
I was about to say, yeah,
because that is so easily disproved. I know we've talked about this before. That the bullet that went through JFK and Governor Connolly, they show pictures of it like zigzagging and how it's impossible for it to hit those points and on the bodies, based on where they were sitting. But it doesn't take into account the actual seating position because Connolly was sort of lower and more to the centre than JFK.
yeah,
And if you consider that, it makes perfect sense. The trajectory lines up perfectly. And they say the bullet looks, pristine, like it hasn't been through two bodies. But people who know about bullets have looked at it and said, no, that's exactly what you'd expect it to look like.
people
Um,
are stupid. They want to believe something
yeah.
bollocks. Shit, I fell off again.
Oh, I keep
Falling off the bloody thing.
pressing the wrong button. Right, where's the other railing?
If you could know the absolute truth to one thing that is widely considered to be a conspiracy,
A conspiracy. Okay.
So you don't necessarily have to believe it is a conspiracy,
Um,
but what's the conspiracy there? Because like I have absolute faith that the moon landing happened,
yeah.
right? But maybe it'd be nice to know for sure.
I mean, the unsolved mystery I'd like to know the answer to most is who killed John Benet Ramsey.
Hmm.
Um, I have my own theory. I think it was somebody who worked with John Ramsey on a lower level. Uh, took a real personal dislike to him based on something that John Ramsey probably didn't even. John Ramsey probably didn't even remember know this guy existed really. Um,
Ah, yes, the typical Thanos Wonder, yeah, Thanos Wonder situation.
what?
It's a Marvel thing.
Uh,
So she doesn't like Thanos because Thanos killed Vision, but
yeah,
he doesn't know who she is.
yeah. I think this guy disliked John Ramsey, the dad, and worked under him in some capacity, and assumed he was, and he ended up becoming the focal point for all this guy's frustrations about his own life. The value in the ransom note was very close to a the John Ramsey's bonus that year,
Hmm.
and it's a weighted figure. It's like I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's a really precise figure. Because if you write a ransom note, you ask for like 1 million or 100,000, a round number. It's not that at all.
$100 billion.
Yeah, it's like $675,000 or something like that, which he would have known if he worked with him. That's what I think happened. But in terms of conspiracies, um, I don't, I don't honestly know. I don't honestly know. I think maybe JFK because that's the only
I'd
conspiracy.
lean, I'd lean towards JFK.
The only conspiracy I actually sort of maybe agree with is the one we talked about ages ago. That a member of the Secret Service accidentally shot him while Lee Harvey Oswald was taking shots. But anyway, we'll leave this one for this time, and the next one is clean the private jet.
Ah, yes, that's not so bad, that one.
We'll pick that up next time. So thanks for joining us. If you did,
It didn't.
bye.
Bye, everyone.